Can the Wim Hof method make you physically stronger? In the popular anime series Demon Slayers, Tanjiro and his friends can develop superhuman strengths with the help of a breathing method to slay demons. Is something like this possible in real life? Can we develop more strengths with the help of breathing? The Wim Hof Method breathing technique is often associated with overcoming cold temperatures, boosting immune system, and overall well-being. But can it also make you stronger? Why don't we test it firsthand before we dive into the details and cover what actually happens in the body on a physiological level? We're going to choose a simple body weight exercise like the push-up. If you're not able to do a normal push-up, try to elevate your hands on something like a chair or a bench, or you could do it on your knees. So first, to be able to make a fair comparison, let's see how many push-ups I can do without any prior breath work. Now that we have established a baseline, let's move to the next step. Okay, what I'm going to do now is a Wim Hof Method breathing protocol of 4 rounds to prime myself for the push-ups. It contains 90 seconds of fast-paced and full inhales and very short exhales where I let my breath go. And then on my last exhale, I hold my breath on empty lungs. When I feel the urge to breathe, I inhale fully and hold that for 15 seconds or so. And that would be 1 round. I do 4 rounds of those breathing cycles, and at the end of the 4th round I hold my breath on empty lungs and do the push-ups. I was able to do 12 more push-ups without breathing. That's a 24% increase of my baseline. I consider that a pretty good improvement. So how is this possible? I shouldn't be able to have such an increase just because I was doing 50 push-ups the other day. And to be honest, it's no special power either. Instead, the secret lies in what the breathing method does to our nervous system. Hyperventilation-like breathing engages the sympathetic nervous system, the part of the nervous system that's responsible for our fight and flight mode. So, and the easiest way to understand that is it raises our alertness and it prepares the body for action. Studies have shown that people doing the Wim Hof Method breathing raise their adrenaline level by 200%. That's more than someone who goes bungee jumping for the first time. At the same time, your breath holds will involve the parasympathetic nervous system, responsible for rest and recovery, where I feel relaxed and calm. By engaging the whole spectrum of our autonomic nervous system, our body can allocate much more energy than it normally could. Just like you could probably run faster when you need to run from a tiger. Additionally, you will also preserve energy by keeping a relaxed and calm state of mind. So what does this actually mean? Does the Wim Hof method make us really stronger? Well, if you define strength as the size and strength of muscle, the answer is no. But it increases the perceived strength because you can leverage the power of your nervous system, which control your muscles. But within this piece of information lies another layer that really can make you stronger. And this has to do how we optimize our resistance training, our strength training. One of the greatest abilities we as human species have is adaptation. From a physical perspective, stress and adaptations are the only drivers for more strength. So we need to stress our body either with body weight exercises or with external weight to drive muscle adaptation. And I use parts of the Wim Hof Method Breathing to put in more work. And I'm going to explain you how exactly in a moment. Just as a short side note, I'm in the process of creating a breathwork course. So if you would like to know more about it, sign up to my newsletter down in the description. Putting it simple, one determining factor of a good strength training is how much volume I can put into my training session. And that means how many repetitions and sets I can do per exercise or muscle group. Even in a competition or a real-life scenarios, we have multiple bouts of high-focused, strength-intensive phases where we have rest periods in between. As we have multiple sets for a strength training session, we can have multiple deep work sessions for a work day. In boxing you have different rounds, and even in golf, after you hit the ball, you have a chance to restore your resources with a calm breathing pattern. So if I want to calm myself down or recover faster between a set of my workout, I want to do long exhales. And what actually happens in our body and brain is that our diaphragm moves up when we exhale. While moving up, it compresses our lungs, which is why our air is pushed out. But at the same time, our heart gets a little bit smaller, a little bit more compact, because our diaphragm moves up and puts pressure on it. As there is less space in our heart, the blood in there moves a little faster, just like you would squeeze a balloon filled with water with tiny holes. In our heart, we have some neurons that register the blood flow speed and send a signal to our brain to activate the parasympathetic part of the nervous system to slow down our heart rate. Fascinating, isn't it? Consequently, when we continuously emphasize long exhale and the relative short inhale, we can calm ourselves down pretty quickly. But the same is also true when we inhale. When we inhale, our diaphragm moves down and expands our lungs to create an underpressure where the air flows in. But at the same time, our heart gets a little bit bigger. And as there is more space in our heart, the blood in there flows a little slower. And the same neurons send a signal to our brain to increase the heart rate. So we engage our sympathetic nervous system, our action mode, or our fight and flight mode, if we focus on strong, long, or vigorous inhales. Whenever I'm between sets, I use very deliberate breathing to maximize my recovery time. I for myself like to take deep inhales, but even longer exhales, where I continuously and calmly breathe the air out through my nose and sometimes also through my mouth. I don't force a rigid breathing pattern, but I adapt my breathing to the situation. I don't want to induce myself with stress because my body doesn't get enough oxygen just because I want to do a slow breathing. So I think there are many ways to engage in a slow breathing pattern. Situational and individual aspects must be always taken into account, but I suggest finding something that works for your specific case. Either you can test different ways of slow breathing and go by feeling, or you can measure your heart rate when doing it. As something to play around with, here are some ideas that other people or I like to do when doing slow breathing. Contract the muscles in your throat just a little bit to let the air squeeze out of your throat, so you can relax on the exhale and don't need to control your diaphragm too much. Exhale with a humming. Wim Hof and other ice bath practitioners sometimes hum to calm themselves down and deepen their focus while staying in ice water for a long time. Taking an ice bath is a tremendous stressor for body and mind. Therefore, it's very important to be able to calm yourself down pretty quickly. You don't necessarily need to take an ice bath. You can apply the same principle to your recovery phase in between sets of your workout. When you do the humming, try to depress the point of your hum's vibration so that it's not coming from the throat but from the chest. But the downside is, if you're doing it in a gym, that can seem pretty awkward. So another way is to do the physiological sigh. The physiological sigh is a science-backed method to calm yourself down very quickly. And it's actually very simple. You do a short but strong inhale and follow up with another sip of air before doing a long exhale. Some people find it helpful to visualize the exhale by moving a hand from your mouth away. Seeing how the hand moves away from the mouth can help pace the exhale better than pure interoception. If I'm totally exhausted after a set and went full out and I still need to do 1 or 2 sets more, I fall immediately into a fast-paced breathing where I focus on rigorous and deep inhales. I do 15 to 20 fast inhales before switching to a slow breathing patterns with long exhales. Sometimes I like to switch again and do just a few fast-paced inhales right before I start my next set. I usually need to do this kind of protocol at the last 1 or 2 sets of a particular difficult and hard exercise. After finishing a workout, I spend 10 to 15 minutes of deliberate slow breathing, a so-called down regulation. Depending on where I am at, I will lie down or sit in a locker room, for example, and focus on calm breathing to slow down my heart rate. Sometimes I do a box breathing, where, for example, I inhale for 5 seconds, hold for 5 seconds, exhale for 5 seconds, and hold again for 5 seconds. Or I do a mini Wim Hof breathing where I inhale fully and deeply and then let my breath go very slowly and hold my breath at the end for a few seconds. This would be something like a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1 ratio between the length of the exhales and inhales. So lastly, let's talk about another aspect of the Wim Hof method that can be used to get stronger, and that's cold exposure. And I don't mean taking an ice bath. Various studies point to the fact that taking an ice bath can kill your gains after a workout. That's because it decreases the inflammation in your muscles, and your muscle need a little inflammation in order to grow. So by cold exposure, I mean cooling the body or cooling your system. Our muscles aren't able to contract anymore if there is too much local heat in our muscles. The contraction of muscle fibers generate heat when they move. And when they reach a certain threshold, they literally can't contract anymore. So we need to rest to let our muscle cool down before we engage in another set or round. And the best way to do that is to cool our palms of hands and feet. And the reason for this is that these hairless body parts have direct transition points of arterial to venous blood flow, meaning the transition point where the blood flows back into your heart. Skipping the capillaries, the tiniest blood vessels that we have, and normally the transition point from arterial to venous, we have the most effective way to cool our system. Studies have shown that athletes who cooled their system this way, by Palmar cooling, could increase their workout volume by 300%. The way I like to do that is to grab a cool and wet towel or touch a cold surface like a cool bottle or a cool stone floor. For this matter, I also like to work out barefooted, so I have another surface to cool down. But I want to make sure that whatever I'm holding is not too cold, because that would cause vasoconstriction, where my veins close down to preserve heat. So that would be counterproductive. So personally, I don't measure temperatures or stuff like that and just go by feeling. I hold on to anything that feels nice and cool. So we have now covered 2 ways to influence our nervous system and our muscles to improve performance, ultimately making us stronger when we apply these principles to our workouts. I hope you found some valuable information. If you want to support this channel, Please leave a like and a comment. And if you want to see more of videos on breathwork, cold exposure, movement, Wim Hof method, and so on, please consider subscribing. Thank you for watching to the end, and see you in my next video. Bye.